5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. The concept of normalization of marks in academic assessment is both a widely accepted practice and a controversial one. It refers to the process by which the scores of students are adjusted to account for variations in the difficulty levels of different examination papers. This process is especially common in large-scale competitive examinations and board assessments where different sets of papers are distributed among students. While normalization seeks to ensure fairness by adjusting the marks to a common scale, it carries both advantages and disadvantages. As such, the normalization of marks has both benefits as well as loss, and understanding both sides is essential to evaluate its impact on students and academic systems. The primary advantage of normalization is fairness. In examinations where multiple sets of question papers are administered to different groups of students, the level of difficulty among these sets may not be uniform. One set may be slightly more difficult or easier than another. Without normalization, students who receive the more difficult paper would be at a disadvantage despite having comparable knowledge and preparation. Through normalization, this disparity is addressed, allowing for a level playing field where all students are evaluated on an equitable basis. It compensates for unforeseen variations and prevents students from being unfairly penalized due to random allocation of examination papers. In addition to fairness, normalization improves the credibility of examination systems. It shows that the authorities are aware of the possible inconsistencies in assessment and are taking steps to rectify them. This enhances the trust of students, parents, and educators in the system. When students believe that their efforts will be judged objectively and impartially, they are more likely to engage seriously with the learning process. It also encourages healthy competition, as students know that factors beyond their control will not affect their performance unfairly. Another benefit of normalization is that it enables comparability of marks across different boards or institutions. In countries where multiple boards or examining bodies exist, each may have its own grading standards and assessment patterns. Normalization allows institutions and employers to compare students from diverse educational backgrounds on a standardized scale. This is particularly useful in university admissions and recruitment processes where objective comparisons are necessary. By transforming raw scores into a normalized format, discrepancies between marking schemes and paper difficulty are mitigated, promoting uniformity in evaluation. Moreover, normalization of marks facilitates better data analysis and educational planning. When scores are normalized, patterns of performance across regions, schools, and demographic groups become clearer. This helps policymakers to identify gaps, design interventions, and allocate resources more effectively. It also aids in measuring the effectiveness of teaching methods and curriculum changes over time. In this way, normalization supports both micro-level and macro-level decision-making within the education sector. Despite these benefits, the process of normalization is not without its drawbacks. One of the major criticisms is that it can distort actual performance. In the attempt to balance difficulty levels, normalization may result in inflated or deflated scores that do not accurately reflect a student's true ability. A student who performs exceptionally well on a difficult paper may receive fewer normalized marks than a student who performs decently on an easier one. This can lead to frustration and demotivation among students who feel that their hard work has not been fairly recognized. Another problem with normalization is that it is often based on statistical models that may not fully capture the real differences in paper difficulty. These models rely on assumptions which may not hold true in every case. For example, if the variation in difficulty is not uniform across all questions, or if the student performance does not follow a predictable pattern, the normalizations model may produce inaccurate results. This can affect high-stakes outcomes such as university admissions or scholarship allocations, leading to complaints and legal disputes. The process can also be confusing and opaque to students and parents. Most people do not have a background in statistics and may not understand how raw scores are converted to normalized scores. The lack of transparency can lead to suspicion and mistrust in the system. Students may feel that their performance has been arbitrarily altered, especially when they see large discrepancies between their raw marks and final results. In the absence of clear communication, normalizations can be perceived as a tool for manipulation rather than fairness. Furthermore, normalizations may discourage consistent preparation. Some students may come to believe that the final result depends more on statistical adjustment than their actual performance. This perception can lead to a lack of seriousness in preparation or over-reliance on the system to balance their shortcomings. It may also contribute to the belief that luck plays a bigger role than effort, which undermines the principles of meritocracy and hard work that education is supposed to promote. In addition, normalization does not solve the root problem of unequal paper difficulty, it only tries to adjust its effects. A more sustainable approach would involve designing assessments that are balanced and uniform from the beginning. Relying heavily on normalization can make examination bodies complacent in paper setting standards. Moreover, for students at the extremes of the scoring range, normalization can have unpredictable effects. Top-performing students may find their scores lowered if the model deems their paper easier, whereas average-performing students may benefit from an upward revision if their paper is considered difficult. This re-ranking can affect final merit lists and change outcomes in competitive environments. It is particularly problematic when small differences in marks determine admission to prestigious institutions or eligibility for scholarships. There is also the issue of uniform application. Not all examinations use the same method of normalization, and in some cases, authorities change the method without prior notice. This inconsistency adds to confusion and anxiety among students. A lack of standardization across boards and institutions can result in unequal treatment of students applying for the same opportunities. Thus, while normalization aims to promote equality, in practice it can introduce new forms of inequality if not implemented carefully. Stop.